Happy New Year and welcome to 2024. Now we're going to continue on with our roast series and I'm going to show you my favourite picks of roasted vegetables or the sides to go with my roast dinner. The ones I'm going to show you today is going to be some spiced braised red cabbage, carrots with tarragon, roasted parsnips, and Brussels sprouts like you've never had them before. Now you're probably thinking, why roast dinners? But for me, roast dinners in England happen every Sunday, so you should be making these same dishes every weekend as well. First up, so I've got my red cabbage, cut it up. Now I'm going to pop it into a bowl just to give myself some more space. And I'm wearing gloves because red cabbage actually does stain. Back in the day, they used this for dyeing clothes, so I don't want it to dye my hands. Right, cooking apples, peel. Now we need to core them and dice. I'm just going to cut the apple into smaller little chunks. Now we've got the apples cut, let's put them into a tray, bowl, whatever you got. Right, and lastly we need to dice up some onion. Right, I'm going to get this into a bowl and then we're going to make our spice mix for the spiced red cabbage. Now it's time to layer and assemble the cabbage. And you're going to do it similar like a trifle where we're going to have different layers of the vegetables and fruit. So first off, put a layer of cabbage down. Right, brown sugar. And just repeat all those layers until you've used up all your fruit and veg. Now I'm going to give it a good dollop of red wine vinegar. It's about 3 tablespoons, but I like mine to be quite acidic, so I'm going to go a little bit over. Say 4. And then to finish it off, a couple of knobs of butter. Right, this is ready for the oven, so a tight fitting lid. And pop that in the oven at 150 degrees centigrade for 3 hours. Now, hands down, my favourite way of doing any type of carrot. So what does Vichy mean? It means cooked in a little bit of water with a buttery glaze or sugary buttery glaze. So I've got my peeled carrots, good old handful will do. I'm going to lob the ends off. Now you could do this with any type like baby or chantilly. I'm just going to barrel roll these, which means I'm just going to turn the carrot as I cut them on an angle, like a 45-degree angle. Let's grab a saucepan and just put the carrots in the saucepan. Now you don't want them too crowded, so make sure you get a nice wide base, because what we're going to do next is quite important. We're going to put a little bit of water in there, not fill it all the way up. Next up, we're going to put in a couple of big slabs of butter. Now don't worry, this is just to help cook the carrots. And then my little addition is adding a bit of tarragon. I'm only going to use a couple of sprigs because tarragon has this beautiful aniseedy sort of fragrance to it, which I think carrots and tarragon is a very, very good match. So that's going to go in. Next up, we've got our sugar. I'm going to use a heaped tablespoon, a little pinch of salt, and now that is ready to go on the stove. So we're going to put a lid on there, put it on a low temperature, let it tickle over for about 45 minutes, and then we'll give it a good check. Next up is my parsnips. Peel them, and then we're going to core them, because inside parsnips there's going to be a hard core, which we need to get rid of. I've got a pan of boiling water on. I'm going to blanch these parsnips for about a minute or 2. So they've been blanching for about 2 minutes, and you can tell they're ready because they give a little squeeze, they're a bit softer. That's just so it takes some of that raw edge off and you get this nice fluffy parsnip. I'm gonna heat up a frying pan. What we're gonna do next is basically color the parsnips with a bit of sugar, butter and honey. Those are my signature trios for the parsnips. It's basically making like a salted caramel coating for the parsnips, which is perfect match. This is easily my favourite way of handling parsnips. You've got to try it. Right, so the parsnips are all nicely browned and coloured, and I've just set them aside there so they are ready for the next part, which is basically making like a salted caramel sauce, which is going to make those honey roasted parsnips super sticky and sweet and absolutely moorish and delicious. So I've got some cube butter into the same pan that I cooked them in. Brown sugar. Just sprinkle that over the butter. Don't worry about the amount of butter and sugar I'm using here, because this is just to create the sauce that's going to gently coat the parsnips. So you're not actually going to consume all that butter and sugar. Next up, honey goes in. Please be careful. You don't want, this is burning hot caramel, so you don't want to splash it on you. So carefully put the parsnips in. And we're just going to give them a gentle tossing. You're going to think, why haven't I made these anytime sooner? So there's your parsnips. They smell incredible. You probably could eat them straight away, but they just need a good old seasoning, a little bit of pepper, good pinch of salt. So my kids will my kids go nuts for these. Now they're just going to go in the oven, 160 degrees, 170 degrees for about 10-15 minutes, just to give them a good color, because they're already pretty much 3/4 of the way there, but you just want to get them all nice and sticky and colored all over. So you've made it this far, and another one to go. Come on. So it's the Brussels sprouts. These are quite a divisive vegetable, I think. Usually it's that horrible, bitter vegetables that I think a lot of people sort of look aside at the Christmas dinners or roast dinners. But these, when they're done correctly, are honestly absolutely superb. I like to pair mine with some pancetta and whole chestnuts, but obviously if you want this fully vegetarian, then leave out the pancetta. So with the Brussels sprouts, take them off the ginormous stalk just by giving them a little pull. Does anyone know if we can use this? Leave us a comment. It looks quite very hard and tough, so I'm just gonna chop that up for the compost heap. Anyway, we've got our Brussels sprouts, so we're just going to, let's get a smaller knife. Just going to take off the end, like so, and then remove any sort of not very nice looking leaves, and then just give it a gentle cross. So I'm just slicing a little cross on the bottom. This stalk will take a bit longer to cook, so just give it a little gentle little cross. That's something that my mum taught me when I was younger. So we're gonna just go through and do all of these. Some of these Brussels sprouts are a little bit bigger than the others, so I'm gonna cut those in half just so they cook more evenly, just the big ones. Now I'm gonna put them into a tray. There we go. Chestnuts and Brussels sprouts are a match made in heaven, as well as pancetta. That meatiness and the bitterness from the Brussels sprouts, just divine. And so I've got some of these whole cooked chestnuts. You want a good handful of nuts. And then just give them a rough chop up. Now season everything up. I'm using a tiny bit of salt because the pancetta is already salty. Good sprinkle of pepper. And a little bit of olive oil. Now get your hands in, give them a good toss. So now I'm actually going to put this into my air fryer. My air fryer, the Ninja Speedy, has a steam function. So I'm going to steam these first for a couple of minutes and then air fry them. If you just have an air fry function, just do an air fry function for maybe 200 degrees centigrade or 400, I think it is, Fahrenheit, for about 10-15 minutes. Depends on how coloured you want your veggie to be. If you just have the oven, then put it in the oven for around the same amount of time. Brussels sprouts are out of the air fryer. I've just been snacking on these crispy little bits for the past few minutes, and they are, oh, I don't know if you heard that, but that is delicious. Honestly, my new favourite way of cooking and having Brussels sprouts, doing them in an air fryer, would you believe? My new favourite toy. And those are ready to serve. So my carrots are also ready to serve. They've been cooking gently for about 45 minutes. Then I took the lid off and just let that remaining liquid, the water, to evaporate completely. And what you're left with is this glistening carrot from that butter, and it's cooked all the way through. And they smell absolutely divine from that tarragon. So I'm just going to discard that tarragon. These are ready for plating, so I'm just going to put them into a bowl. And Vichy carrots wouldn't be complete without a little parsley garnish, but you don't have to, but it's that little bit of extra that makes it a showstopper on the table. You can do this with the tarragon, you could do this with parsley, but I like the parsley because it's not very overwhelming, because there's already a strong tarragon flavour in that carrots. And those are Michelin-worthy carrots. Next up, the roasted parsnips. Wow. Last but not least, our braised red cabbage. So this has been in the oven for a few hours now. I gave it a good stir halfway. And I tell you what, I love making this dish because it just fills the house with such a cozy smell. So don't worry if you end up making a lot of each of these roast sides, because they freeze perfectly. So you can prepare super in advance and just whip it out the freezer like you've been in the kitchen for hours. Your secret's safe with me. So there you have it. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 perfect roast dinner sides. Now these are all going to blow everyone away. Combine that with our roast potatoes. This is, I would say, the ultimate roast dinner, and it goes with any meat. So give it a go. Leave us a comment and give us a like and a thumbs up, and subscribe if you've liked this video today. Check out our other roast series. We're going to be doing a roast chicken and roast beef. That is just going to be so delicious. I can't wait for it. And I'll catch you guys soon. Can't do the outro. See you next week.